Hello.
I love seeing us behind the scenes because when you're driving, you can see the two little pictures of us and we're both down there just dancing. Every week, I love it. It's just so fun.
No. And then I said, when I'm not driving, I don't like it because I just can see myself. Hello, everybody. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Beautiful weather, too.
It is. Spring is upon us, and that's why I thought it was really important to do this show today. We'll get into that in a second. Yes, welcome to Find Your Why. I am Yvonne. I'm a financial life coach.
And I'm Indira, your co-host and a leadership coach.
I started something really cool this week, and it is called the 40/40 Challenge. It's a virtual walking challenge. I don't know if you've heard of those. There's a lot of walking challenges out there, but this one is specific to faith. It's a faith-based walk. We're studying the book of John. And so every day you read a little bit of the book of John and it'll tell you which scriptures, and then you kind of journal on it and think about it. So when you're doing your walk, it's a 40/40 walk because it's for 40 days, 40 miles. You do 1 mile a day. And so after you read your scripture, you can do your walking and kind of ruminate on the scripture and stuff. It's wonderful. So I am just enjoying my springtime.
Love that. That's beautiful. I was mentioning last week that one of the things that I most enjoyed about when the weather is nice is to be able to go outside and find those trails that I walk is fantastic. And I feel like connect even more with myself. But I love that approach to have a faith-based, and also you having the opportunity to be able to think about what you're reading about the scripture. So I love that.
Love it. Well, like I was saying, the one reason why I really wanted to have this session right now is because in the spring, the late spring, early summer is one of the second most spending seasons after the holidays. And so today we're going to be talking about spending triggers. Now, we could go really deep dive on this and do a lot of the psychology behind it, but we're obviously not going to have the time to do that. So we're just going to kind of hit some of the highlights that maybe some of our listeners will be able to relate to and understand that, wow, that is something that triggers me into spending. And then you'll be able to dive deeper into it for yourself. So hopefully it's a really good, interesting one for everybody.
Yes. And I was mentioning, Yvonne, that just at this very moment, I'm trying to plan my vacation season with my kids. And I said, that's why I love this episode right now, because many of the things that we discussed here, I can also apply it in my life. Because one of my biggest areas that I don't have 100% control is when I go to vacation, because I always kind of get out of the budget.
That is actually one of the big key points that I have today that I cannot wait to talk about. And you were talking about tax season, and this is another great reason why I want to talk about this now, because it is tax season. And so a lot of people use their taxes for things like vacation or other big expenditures. So that's why I figured it was just so timely. I could not let this one go by.
Yes, absolutely.
I know I have to still do my taxes too. So it's like,
yes. Yeah. And that was my plan this year. I'm going to use some of the money for my taxes for my vacation. So, but first I have to do that. So then I can continue my planning.
Exactly.
So I stick to the budget.
Exactly. Well, why don't we start with talking about vacation and how you get out of your budget when you vacation? Why do you do that?
Oh, why do I do my budget, or why
do you get out of your budget when you vacate? Because I know I am so guilty. I'm the exact same way. And so I want to know your reasons why.
Oh my gosh. Is that when I go, I kind of make the plans, but then there's always other things. And I think I don't budget for additional things. And what happened is that, and maybe I don't plan with the level of details, because in many cases, for example, I'll go into my country and I say, okay, I'm going to do this tour and we're going to do this tour. But then once we're there, people start adding more stuff, and I always get off the budget because I don't want to miss out, because I just go once a year. So I have the fear of missing out. Yeah.
That's another big reason that people have a spending trigger.
Yes.
I know for me, when I go on vacation, I tend to, even though I will make that budget too, I have that tendency to do the whole, well, we're only doing this once. It's a once in a lifetime. It's never once in a lifetime thing. But I have that mentality. I'm like, but we're here. Let's enjoy it to the fullest. Let's really have this experience. And so I do tend to go over my budget too. I do. I am a financial coach, and there are times I can't stick to my budget.
And the thing is that, for example, especially for example, last December, I went with my kids vacation to New York, and we planned a few activities. But once we were there, there's many other nice things. For example, we went to a museum, and it was like a ship for a Navy SEAL that have also they have so many different stuff. And I said, no, definitely we have to do that. And like that, there was another, oh, let's eat. Wow, but we have to eat tapas. And then we start adding stuff. And I said,
Yes.
okay, there's a moment. Oh. Now getting close to the budget, red alarm. No, we have to pick and select what we're going to choose and what we're going to do.
Yeah, when you know your budget's getting tight and all of a sudden you're like, well, I still have a credit card with me, then you know that it's like danger. You need to just really rethink what you're doing. Exactly. And you talked about the fear of missing out. That is huge for so many people. Again, I'm the same. I'm that way, especially on vacation. You're like, you want to have this whole experience. You don't want to miss out on anything. So I totally get it, but it happens just in everyday times. Your friends are all going out to dinner. There's all these other things happening, and you don't want to miss out on the experiences or the time with people. So is there other times that you experience fear of missing out that's not on vacation?
Mostly it's on vacation. I kind of more stick to my budget throughout the year, but this is like you said, when I'm on vacation, I kind of don't check my budget, and I'm not checking my account, and it's like I'm free myself.
Yes.
And that's when the problem is. Throughout the rest of the time, I'm more conscious of the things that I have to do, but then I think it's on vacation that I kind of let myself go out buff and a bore.
Yeah, that's probably my worst time. Yeah. Honestly. Yeah. It really is. But they make the best memories. So I don't regret it probably like I should.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
That's the thing. Yeah. And let me tell you, I have changed significantly throughout the year, because many years ago, I didn't have many vacation. And when I have vacation, I have unforgettable vacation, because I used my credit card, and every month that I have to pay, I remember this vacation.
Oh, that's a good point.
Exactly. Nowadays, at least I'm able to budget and be able to organize the money that is for that. So,
that takes time too. There's a few years that you build up to getting to that point. So if there's somebody out there listening and they're like, I'll never be able to have a vacation, give it time. It's not like we all started out at 20 years old going on extravagant vacations.
No, that's true. Not at all.
So do you find anything else that's a trigger for you with spending that causes you to spend?
Maybe not considering, for example, things that happen in the house that outside that, because those are needs, let's say, but I'm able to wait for the things. So that's one thing that is good. I'm able, for example, I have to change something, or I have to buy another set of clothes. For example, just yesterday I said, oh my gosh, I kind of wanted to change my closet. I think I'm getting bored of it.
Yes.
But I feel that emotion, but I won't let that emotion push me. Oh my gosh, I'm going to spend this amount of dollars. No.
It's funny. You would think that we had actually talked about this, but we have, I promise you, we have not talked about this, because I was just going to say, and I feel like this is a confessional for me today, because one of my big triggers is boredom. That is a huge time for me to spend, because you're talking about your closet. I do that with my house, especially during the seasons. I'm like, okay, well, spring is coming. So I need new curtains. I'm bored with what I have here. I want to refresh everything. And that is a horrible trigger for me. So I really have to be conscious of that.
That's interesting. I'm able to control more about the things about the house. Yeah, I think I have to change. Let me tell you, when I arrived here, I wanted to build credit, because it was like a ghost. And I said, I think it was like 7 or 8 months without a couch. And people come to my house and say, oh, I have chairs. If you want chairs, if not, let's do it in somewhere else, because I don't have a couch. Because I said, I wanted to buy the couch, and I had the money to buy it, but I said, I wanted to build the credit. And when I went to the bank, they told me, you can buy the couch or something like that. And I said, I just wanted to buy something that I need. And since I said, let me wait. And I'm fine with that, waiting. So it doesn't concern me. So I kind of get used to that. But there's other things. For example, like I said, I think nothing like vacation can get me out of my budget as much.
Very, very blessed, because there are so many triggers for so many people. Like boredom is a huge one for me. Another one is emotional spending. Now, this isn't one that I necessarily struggle with. There are times I used to struggle with it a lot. And it's funny because when people think about emotional spending, they're like, oh, when I'm sad or something like that. But a lot of people spend when they're happy.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really strange, but they do. They get excited and they just want to spend money, and it excites them more. And those dopamine hits keep coming.
I can go, maybe because I struggle for money for so long, I can go window shopping and buy nothing and just have fun like that. Because before I didn't have the money to buy it. So exactly. I just go and I look. And nowadays, I think if I like something, I buy it. But if I can't, I say, I don't buy it. I buy it next month. And I put it on the budget for next month. Yeah. And I
think very blessed that you can do that you have that type of self-control.
But now that you mentioned that, sometimes you can even feel guilty if you spend. So both ways are a problem. Because remember, I was mentioning about your post last week, because I said, I didn't want to cook. And I saw your post and I said, okay, let me go and buy dinner so I don't have to cook tonight. Because yes, I work the whole week and I just don't want to cook tonight. Mm-hmm. So, but because I listened to your post and that gave me to that trigger, if not, I will come home, and even if I was tired, I was going to cook. Mm-hmm. So sometimes being very conscious about your expenses also is a problem, because you can overextend. Yes. And I'm telling you, because I have both eyes. In my one side, my parents was a spender and the other one was the saver. Mm-hmm. And then you have to which one I pick. Maybe I'm going to be more the saver, but then you feel some guilt when you have to also spend money.
Yeah, that I went through that phase for a long time too. And it was, for me, it was coming from the times in my memory where I didn't have money. And when I would spend money, I would feel guilty. So like I said, a lot of these things can go very, very deep. And it is something that I work on with clients. They're like, I can't stop spending. So then we touch on these different triggers, but it's never just that trigger. It's not like I just buy because I'm sad. Okay, that's great. Now let's go deeper. So like I said, we're not going to be able to go deeper on this show because we'll be here for hours and hours, but I definitely want to give people some ideas so they can look for these triggers and think, at least it's a place to start. Retail therapy is a terminology that's used because it is so common. It makes people feel better, or it makes people feel whatever, but retail therapy, they do that sometimes instead of real therapy. And if you find out that you are using retail therapy to make yourself feel better, it might actually be time to talk to a therapist or a financial coach or something, because your reasons for doing that are usually much, much deeper than I was just bored or I was just sad.
Yeah. And like we were mentioning, one of the things is also recognize your emotion, because sometimes it could be happiness. It could be also because you feel sad. Also because sometimes we don't have the control and we're looking for that instant gratification, and that's something that nowadays we are so used to. Everything has to be fast that we don't have the patience to wait for the things until we're able to buy it.
And that is something that has happened more so, I think, in our lifetime, in our adult lifetime, than ever before. And for me, a big trigger, I guess you could say, is when years ago when I started in real estate and I was a realtor, I worked for a broker that said that if somebody texts you or calls you, they are expecting a call or text back within 2 minutes. And that was my first wake-up call to the instant gratification system, that we now live in. And it really has gotten that bad. And I do think that a lot of people spend for that instant gratification. It is a dopamine hit when you buy something new, and it can be very dangerous to your pocketbook.
To your pocket, and also emotionally, because you use that in order to cope with the situation and not to go deeper, understand your feelings and your emotions.
Retail therapy.
Yeah.
I know
Yep.
something else that is now this one goes way back for this one has I think always been, and it's what people call keeping up with the Joneses. If you are always feeling like, okay, well, my neighbor's got a new car, maybe I need to get a new car, or my best friend got a new house, well, I need to upgrade my house, or it doesn't even have to be that big. It can be a new pairs of shoes. It can do all these things, but keeping up with the Joneses or trying to keep up with somebody else's lifestyle, obviously there is a huge emotional trigger there that you really need to look at. And a lot of times keeping up with the Joneses issue can go way back to childhood.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think people understand that it can really be that deep with some of these things that seem such not a big deal, oh, so big deal. So I just bought a new pair of Louboutins or something, but if it is a habit and something you're doing a lot, you may really want to look into why do you feel the need to do that?
Yes, I like that because, and we have talked in many different podcasts about that comparison. And that gap really creates a strong weakness. I would say emptiness on you because you're looking for something outside to be able to fill that emptiness inside. And
Absolutely.
That's why we may see that this episode is financially, but in reality, it's not. Money is mindset.
It is
understanding your mindset. And I love that you mentioned about going back to your childhood. In this book that I read a long time ago, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, he talks about, I think it's Harv Eker is the author, and he talks about how your childhood, your thoughts, your beliefs, your programming that you receive, and those limiting beliefs really affect the way you behave financially today and how you manage money. And I was just talking about how my father and my mother, they have a completely different spectrum, and I have to kind of learn. And I know that I have been working on myself to be able to recognize how I can manage that in a better way and create my own financial blueprint. So I save and also be able to invest and spend and be able to enjoy life. So that comes a lot going back to my childhood.
Well, and unfortunately, nowadays, well, I wouldn't even say nowadays, because even back when I was growing up, households just don't talk about finances. It's such an off topic. Nobody wants to talk about it, whether it's good or whether it's bad. People just feel like, and it goes into your corporate life. Everybody's always like, "Oh, don't tell anybody how much money you make." That's one of the first things you hear from a boss. So people don't know how to manage money unless they take classes. There's, I don't remember, 3 states that require some sort of economics in school. That's it. We have 50 states. Most schools aren't even teaching this stuff anymore. So whether or not somebody is just getting out of school and having their first real job and they're making money, they have no idea what to do with it. Or I work with clients that are going through financial transition. They've lost a spouse, they're going through divorce, getting married, bringing stuff together. They don't know how to deal with their money.
Yes.
And people don't talk about it. So it is such a needed topic. And that's why I really wanted to bring this up, because people have all these spending habits and they don't know where they come from.
Yep.
And even if they're good spending habits, you can improve on them. But I will tell you, most people don't have great spending habits. They really don't.
Yeah. And like you said, spending, but also how to use your money, that the money work for you. And
absolutely.
That's a completely different mindset from the people different people, I would say, not to categorize, but in reality, people that have that communication and talks about money in a more open way, kids can learn better. They can learn how to manage their stuff. But in my case, I don't remember. I remember when they say there's no money. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was the topic. There's no money. So you have that fear of, and I remember my first job, when I lost my first job, I remember I arrived home and I was crying. I was devastated because that money used to help my mother. We help pay the house and many other stuff. So I knew what that represented. But that taught me a lesson, because I remember seeing myself in the car, stuck in the street because I didn't have gasoline. And I said, oh my gosh, it was struggle, imagine that. So So after that, I said, no, Indira, you won't see yourself ever again like this. So that was the teaching moment for me. But I can tell you that since I was in my 15th, my mom used to send me to the bank, and we're a small town. So I used to go pay most of the stuff because she didn't like it. So she preferred to send me. I used to go to the bank. The people knew me, and they gave me the money. I went to pay here and there. So that gave me independence. But even like that, when I started working, I struggled because I didn't save not even a dime. And when I lost my job, I said, oh my gosh, I was from here to nothing. And I said, no, it's important to have. And that was a teaching moment for the rest of my life. But I haven't passed it to my kids yet, which to your topic, it's so important. Yeah,
it is. And it should start at young. And as we're finding out, there is so much emotion attached to money, whether it's you don't have any or you have a lot. Because generally people that have money, their attitude is it's nobody else's business how much money I have, and they don't want to talk about it. If you don't have much money, there's shame and fear and everything else, and they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So we need to realize that we need to let go of all this emotion attached to it, and it's a whole mindset thing. So it can be very difficult to get people to open up about it, and you keep talking about last week, my post from last week. I really struggled with making that post about enjoying the money that you make, because I do think it's really important. But with that comes another trigger that some people can have, and that is the I deserve it trigger. I go through that sometimes even now.
Yeah.
So it is a real thing that people can overspend because they feel like they deserve everything. There are people who never spend anything because they're like, I don't deserve it. And that's why I felt it really important to do that. Last week, I think the whole week was based on that, of being able to allow yourself to enjoy the money that you work so hard for. It doesn't have to be huge expenditures. You don't have to buy a new car every year. It can be a little something. I have a weird thing. I love socks. I know it sounds so weird. I say a lot of weird things, but I love socks. And so it can be something as I deserve it. I want a new pair of socks, especially in the wintertime. I love big, fluffy, really huge socks. I love it. It's weird, but it's me. So it can be something like that. It doesn't have to be, Louis Vuitton purse. It doesn't have to be that way. But, again, it comes back to mindset. Whether you feel you deserve it, whether you feel you don't, you've got to try and detach some of the emotion to it and understand the triggers, whether you're bored, whether you're sad, whether you're lonely, trying to fill a void, all of these things. If you can understand, if you see yourself going to buy something, ask yourself, pause for a second. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do. People talk about that for weight loss, for everything. Before you make these impulsive decisions, if you can take a little bit of time to pause, and when especially with spending money, give it even overnight. If you can wait overnight and think to yourself, is this something I actually want? Yeah. That can make all the difference in the world to spending.
Yes. And one thing I would like to add to that, and about your post, it was important because it's learn about balance.
Yes.
And one way that I have learned, because I'm more a saver, because feel secured.
Yes.
Using a budget and allocating money in my budget for do whatever I want. That have removed me from the guilt of, oh my gosh, I'm using the money that I will need later. That has helped me significantly, so I don't feel guilty because I'm wasting this amount of money. Just the other day, I went with my friend and I bought makeup, I bought this, I bought that. And then my sister asked me, what did you do? Yeah, we went to the store and we bought makeup. I said, oh my gosh, you're spending you. That's nice. I love that. And you said, yeah, I was spending money. You said, no, it wasn't spending on you. But I wasn't guilty because that's the money that I can use for what I feel that I want. So I think that's one way that I have to learn how to manage with that saver, secure mindset.
I love that you bring that up, because I think that is something that a lot of people forget to budget for. They set aside their emergency savings, they have all their budgets set up to pay their bills, and then they forget to pay themselves a little bit each month so that they can have those moments of enjoying it. We spend so much time at work, and when you think about all that time that we spend, no matter how much you make, whether it's a lot or a little, we need to enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yep. Yeah.
So, and it doesn't even have to be like you save enough each month to spend each month. Sometimes you are saving for something bigger, like your vacation. But to keep that in mind, that you do have a little bit of a fund somewhere that is a fun fund. I think that's really important to do.
Yes. Yes, that's true. And you said, for example, the rule of 24 hours. The other one that I also used when I have to spend like something, or I use it more also on other people that sometimes, and I coach them, and it's about the cost. How many hours do I need
Absolutely.
to work to get that?
I tell them all the time.
That's something that helped me to see if it's really worthy.
Yes.
Because
it's astounding how you find out some things aren't worth it. Because if you're working a job, even if you're making $25 an hour and you're wanting to spend a lot of money on something, and you think about, I had to work 6 months to get that, really puts things in perspective.
Yes, and that's the problem with having the electronic money, like credit card, because if you will have to pay for that, you wouldn't buy it. But since you use credit card and stuff like that, people go and buy it and then they use it. There's one movie, I don't remember his name, it's with Justin Timberlake, when they work for time. So it's so cool.
That sounds familiar, but I can't remember which movie that is either, but that does sound really familiar.
But and I said, oh my gosh, this is reality. They put it in a movie, but in reality, we've been paying money, but in reality, it's time that we're using.
Exactly.
So that analogy really helped us understand if it's worth it to buy something or not.
Yeah. And advertising is made to make us buy stuff. If you even think about how a grocery store is set up, and if you've ever brought your little kids with you to the grocery store and everything that they want is right there at the checkout, and you're ready to go home and you're tired, they're frustrated, and the kids are like, I want. You're like, just buy it so you can just be quiet and go home in peace. Advertising is set up that way for all of us all the time. And you had talked about, being able to window shop, which is really cool. But nowadays, most people window shop online. How many times do we put things in our cart to wait for later? But that can be really dangerous, though, because it's a way to just have it on hold and just be ready to hit that button. So we have to really be careful about that too. Or the biggest one, buy it now before the price goes up.
Oh yes, or scarcity that they're about to expire, or oh yes. Mm-hmm.
So many businesses use that, and it's ridiculous. And if you go back 2 months later and everything's still the same price, and it's hurry up and buy it because this is only going to last for 3 more days, and then you're ticked off. You're like, I hurried up and bought this because it's not going to be on sale again, and now it's on sale still.
Yes.
But those are some of the things you have to watch out for, that urgency either in their advertising or within yourself. And that's why I say, if you can give it 24 hours to think about, or even just overnight, say it's 9 o'clock at night and you're window shopping online, you got all this Amazon cart full of stuff.
Yeah.
If you can just close it out, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, and then check it again after work or something, and see if you still feel the same way. Maybe those emotions that was causing you to fill that cart with something aren't there anymore.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, I used to. I have things in the car. Many of for example, in Amazon. Yeah, I have it there. Yeah, let me see if I need it. And there's another one, and one store. I said, there's a lot of nice stuff. I said, but I don't know if the quality is good, if it's bad. Let me buy one and see if it's worth it, the money. Yep. Because I prefer to touch stuff. So for me, it's I don't have that connection as strong when I have to buy online, because I like to see how it looks on me. I like to try it on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you live in a big city, so it's easy. When we live in small towns, it's not quite as easy.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true. Yeah. One thing that I was going to mention is that in terms of budget, is there any, and I know some people may be curious, the relationship that we see, this amount I can use for fun, this other amount I can use, how people can play on that and also have a little bit of saving or investing, how they can play with that to make it more useful and work for their present, but also for the future self.
Well, I mean, every time I work with, it's very personal, and everybody's goals are very different. So It's really hard to generalize that. But essentially, as long as all your bills are paid and those needs are met, and I always recommend setting up an emergency fund, because you never know when it's going to happen. And for a minimum of $1,000, if you could get it up to your emergency fund up to 6 months of what your take-home pay is, that's all the better, because you never know if you're going to lose a job and how long it'll take to get back. So that's what you work for. But in the meantime, yes, you don't need to wait necessarily 6 months before you can start to have fun. Like I said, maybe just have the little bits of fun in there.
Yeah.
But honestly, everybody's different. It depends on how much money do you make. How much do you feel like you need to have fun? What is a fun goal? If it is a vacation, obviously you're going to be saving for a longer period of time. And you can allocate things like, tax returns. If you get a pay raise, you can allocate that to it. So honestly, it's hard to generalize that. And not everybody has the same goals. Some people want to have a fun $10 a week. I just want to be able to go out to lunch once a week with a friend. That's their fun money. And other people are like, I need $10,000 because I'm going on a cruise. So
yeah, that's true. But the important thing is that at least you have a budget. What I understand is you need to have a budget based on your expectations and where you plan, and allocate at least something so you can spend, so you don't go and pick on other areas and then you're struggling at the end of a month.
Well, and that's the most important part about having a budget, is sticking to it.
Yes.
Because it's really
revising it.
It's a fantastic budget and it looks so pretty and everything's great. But if you're, stealing from Peter to pay Paul type thing, it doesn't matter if you're not sticking to it. So that's where having a great coach comes into play. A lot of times as a coach, we not only help you work through the thoughts that you're having or help you reach the goals, but we keep you accountable.
Yes.
Because when you have something that you're working on or a goal you're trying to reach or something like that, you're more likely to stick to it if you're accountable to somebody. If somebody else is aware of what you're doing and you have to answer to them next week when you have a meeting with them type situation, you're more likely to do what you're supposed to be doing and follow through.
Yeah.
Until you build those habits. So.
Yes, that is true. Having someone to hold you accountable, it's so important. There's people that have that discipline, but it takes time. For me, I was working on my budget for many years and it didn't work. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know, until I started knocking door and asking questions. This was, oh, that makes sense. And then I start applying, because sometimes we wanted to figure it out by ourselves.
Yes.
But sometimes you can, but sometimes if someone can teach you a faster route, just take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like
But one thing that it's important, at least for myself, is that understanding that having financial awareness is so important, because in reality it gives you more happiness, because you feel more confident. You feel that you reduce your worries, because the fact of understanding how you're going to use your money, it gives you safe space. Like I said, I'm more like, I like things that are secure, especially when you go in another country that you don't know how you're going to get money and stuff like that. Secure is so important. Being secure is so important. So just when you start building that foundation, it helps you to release a little bit of stress and focusing on something more important, because already your budget and everything is taken care of, so you can start focusing on other things that are more meaningful.
Exactly. It's having that sense of control and that peace that it can bring. Being, having control over your money is huge, especially when, maybe the rest of your life is a little bit in chaos. But that's why I really wanted to people to pay attention to these triggers, so you can get them under control, get your budget under control, start paying attention to not just when you're spending, but the feelings that you have when you're spending on something that, is not a need. If it's, having that payday splurge, or, I'm mad at my boyfriend type feeling, pay attention to those things, really. And you can go deeper with them and understand how you can get your spending under control. And by essence, really control a lot more of your life. Because when you do go deeper, it is much, much more than just about the money.
Yes.
The way you're spending is just a symptom of something else that's happening.
Yes. And it's never too late to take control of
Never.
your financial habits. This is like your habits about eating, any other areas of your life. It's important that you also put that on your control, because like you were saying, it brings you sense of control and peace of mind.
Right, because it happens to everybody at different times in their lives. Life is not linear. Life is being lived and circumstances change. So what worked for you, 5 years ago, things may have changed in your life and it's not working anymore. But even if you are doing really well, there is always room for improvement. If there's another goal that you want to reach, it's never too late to improve, to change, to work on things. So hopefully this has brought some insight to some people.
Yes. So please remember, recognize your emotional trigger about when you're spending. And like you mentioned just a moment now, what are those things that puts you those impulse that you make choices abruptly, and instead try to be more intentional and try to align the use of your money to things that really matters to you, because
Absolutely.
that's when it's going to bring you joy and happiness.
Yep, that's what my whole last week was about. All of my content from last week in my group, Wallets and Wellbeing, for anybody who's curious on Facebook, all of it last week was to be very, very intentional on your spending and how it can really bring you so much more fulfillment than just frivolous spending. How many times have you bought something, you're looking at it going, why did I buy this? And I know that it's even happened to me too often. Even if we look at our closets and you see the stuff, like you were saying, you want to refresh your closet. We look in there and go, when was the last time I wore this thing?
Yes.
And it could have easily been an impulse buy, thinking, oh, it was so cute. It was on sale. It was whatever.
And then you don't find what to wear it. It doesn't match with anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really useful. There's a lot of things that also I'm going to implement, because especially at this time of the year, I have something coming around. Especially at this time of the year that I'm going to the most dangerous season of my life, and financially speaking, that is vacation. So it's going to bring me more awareness of the things, how I have to do it in a better way.
Yeah, well, vacation and this time of year also real estate. People are looking at selling and buying houses, moving, things like that. So there's this time of year is not just retail spending that's on the rise, but big expenditures, vacations, houses, things like that. So now is a perfect time to really look at tying things together, tightening, those impulses, getting it under control.
Yes. Thank you so much, everybody, to pay attention. We hope we understand that this is going to be really helpful for you. So as always, as we mentioned, drop a comment if you need to. Also make sure that you share this episode, because there's always area that you can learn more from that.
Absolutely. And like she said, leave a comment, share, like this podcast, so that we can get out there in the algorithm. If people don't start participating more and liking us and stuff, other people aren't going to hear what we have to say. Go to our Facebook group, participate there. Also, we put clips out, we put other information out. Sometimes it's written information, but Find Your Wise podcast.
Yes.
Anyways, I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and we will see you soon.
See you next time.
Bye.